Yep.
Bus right now, but the bus.
So generally, when people hear my accent, they think, wow, what a nice, sweet girl. But little do you know, when you get the fire going, oh, man, you better make a run for it, right?
Yeah, and when people hear my accent, it's not good for some reason. Yeah.
Is that a German? What is that? That's really funny, actually.
Yeah, I'm from Nuremberg.
I don't think is that still a place? Are you saying just outside Munich? I love taking bike rides, and I don't know. All my accents generally lead to sounding like a Russian guy after a while. If I'm trying to do someone European, so it eventually
Vladimir,
gets it.
I have cancer.
I love how we were supposed to be led to believe that guy who led that resistance in Russia just blew up in a plane last week. That's a good one. I mean, that really,
was. They're like on like the lowest possible like effort level at this point. They're just like, he blew up in a plane or some shit. Who gives? Who cares?
But also that's literally the third Batman, the beginning of the third Nolan Batman movie. So they're just not even trying anymore. So they definitely
Food's like Beatty's like, we had to find out what Dr. Pavel here told you, and then the guy's like, nothing. I said nothing.
Oh no! All right, no need to relitigate that classic. I know we've talked about that one before, you and I. But in case you guys were wondering, yes, this is the Pink Boys podcast, but this is down in the dirt. You know, we're having fun here. We're going to talk about whatever we want to talk about. We're blowing off steam. It's almost the end of the summer where I am, so I don't care. I'm ready to let it rip. I'll talk about whatever I want to talk about. Tyson will talk about whatever he wants to talk about.
You guys might have had the impression that because our previous two episodes were serious, that this one might be serious, but it's not. So
did you like doing those? I liked doing those, Tyson. I got just an update, I guess. I got one coming about the real estate market that I'm really excited to do. I know a lot about the industry, and I'm ready to let it rip. I got solutions. I can identify the problems, and I'll let you guys know where real estate's heading in the U.S. And I think it'll be a really informative listen for anyone. Obviously, you're welcome to sit in, Tyson. So
let's go. I got one on time travel as well.
Okay, do you, little buddy? Okay. It's so funny because there's different strains of time travel now. I think I've gotten to the point where because I hate time travel in movies. I can't stand it, especially now people pretend they're not doing time travel movies by calling it a multiverse movie, which is such a cop-out. But I can't stand time travel movies. But I do like that there's different versions of them. And I'll tell you the one thing that Avengers Endgame got right is that they kind of poked around with it and said, well, what if this happens? What if this happens? And said, who cares? Just stop asking about it. And then they just time traveled. And that was it. And you know what? I'm okay with that. Instead of, what's the one? Primer or Looper, movies like that where they take time travel very seriously. You're already giving me time travel. Don't take it seriously.
They take it too autistic. Like, it's just like, relax, guys. It's a film. You're not going for a PhD here. Like...
Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, without further ado, also, we do have a co-host, who's not with us, but he has a pulse. We did talk to him, although that could well have just been a Chat GPT readback that he had in that Discord call with us. But we had a very, let's just say, overly romanticized call with him about how he's explaining his life when it's really just probably him sitting around doing nothing. But hopefully we'll get him back on here soon, right, Tyson?
Yeah, it's a tough time for him. He's got high school exam finals for senior year, so...
You know what they need to do? Because you're into those slice of life animes at the moment, they should do one for his life. Like, I know Denetsu, where he has to go, I have to fail this class in order to get this. You know, I don't want to say too much.
It's like the anime is like, his name is like 1,000 Years at High School because he just keeps failing the foundation course.
1,000-year door. Oh my God, that's good stuff. So I got some things just trickling around my mind. But I think the elephant in the room right now is, I mean, if you're coinciding with when we release this according to current events, I hate talking about it because I feel like we talk about him a lot, but you kind of have to right now, especially given that the GOP debate just happened a few days ago. And I know you know a little bit about that. So does everyone. But you can't go on the internet without seeing it. What do you think, Tyson? Let's just say first reactions to Donald Trump's mugshot. What did you think about that?
I think it's fucking epic.
Really?
Yep,
you think it's big stuff? You think it's the big time? What about the
crystallized-
actual picture, though?
No, it's good. It crystallizes the fucking... well, I don't want to sound Reddit, but it crystallizes the fucking rage that his supporters have been feeling for a while. So it's good.
So it's a little bit... It came off to me as very punk. You know what I mean? Like counterculture, you know? Like this is the new punk counter. And people who are rooting it on, I mean, how can you root on just a bloated bureaucracy that's obviously working outside the parameters of typical justice? And, you know, obviously I'm not the biggest fan of the guy from a legislative standpoint. I don't think he did a lot while he's president, but what he stands for culturally is something that, you know, is worth taking note of. So,
you know, I was listening to someone and they had a really prescient point about the mugshot. They were explaining how, like, Trump had all these phrases that weren't really hitting. Like, he would say presidential harassment, or I had the perfect phone call with Ukraine, right? And he would say this stuff to rally his supporters around the cause that the system is unjust around him. And those slogans didn't really work. They weren't good enough as symbols. But now the people have given him the perfect symbol, the mugshot. That symbol crystallizes like all the supposed injustice that has happened against him. So yeah.
I think you're kind of onto something there, because what you're talking about before the mugshot, where he's complaining about, oh, they're after me and only I can stop the deep state, who is also putting him in jail. So he very clearly can't stop the deep state because they're all over him right now. But he went from being whiny and complainative to an actual set piece with that picture. It's undeniable. It speaks more than him whining on Truth Social ever could. Yes, they are martyring him. Absolutely. So I think he went for the right. Okay. Well, I'll ask you this then, because I don't think my opinion's too important on this one. I don't want to sound whiny or anything, but what do you think of the? I actually like. I wouldn't have thought to make a face like that. If I were ever to get arrested and there's a mugshot of me floating around, I'd make a really smug, smirkish face. I'd probably be inebriated to get to that point, so I'd probably look a little dazed. Is there a mugshot of you out there anywhere, or what kind of face would you make if you were on one of those?
See, I had the exact same thought. I'm like, what, man, why didn't Trump like smile? That would be fucking badass. But I realized, you know, it's not really a smiling matter, and if he treats it with like a level of like,
it's not funny, guys.
If he treats it with like a level of like joviality, it kind of like takes away the seriousness of the situation. So he did the right thing by making it serious.
You're right. And you know what's really funny? I was looking at well, you can't avoid the picture. It's not that I was sitting there like the Wolverine meme, like looking at the picture in a picture frame. I was looking at it earlier today, and it kind of reminded me of the faces he would make advertising for The Apprentice. Just this really serious scowl to show you that he was a legitimate quote unquote businessman. So I think like, imagine what's going through his mind as he's doing that. He's like, you know what, I'm just gonna do The Apprentice face, just all in, you know, let's pull that one back out. And he did. He went all in with it. And you know the craziest part about it? He looks a little skinny in the picture. He looks like he's in decent shape. So yeah. He knows how to take a picture, man. You can't say
they did a weigh-in and fingerprinting of him, and apparently since 2018 he's lost 25 pounds. So
really,
congrats, yeah.
Well, yeah, it's because he's just golfing and hanging out all the time, maybe relaxing, and you just know he's absolutely slamming that. Who's that chick that ran in Arizona and Carrie Lake? He is absolutely just using her as like a tube, without a doubt. Because
Carrie Lake, let me see this.
Yeah, she's like a Trump surrogate who ran in Arizona, and she was supposed to be the MAGA future, and she lost because I
Dude, she
don't
looks
think she ran a
busted.
great campaign.
No.
Imagine her with long hair; she would not be as busted as you think. But apparently, there was like a rumor coming out that she has her own room at Mar-a-Lago, and it's just she's just a fixture at Mar-a-Lago, basically. So you just know he hits the golf course, hits his slam pig, maybe sees Melania for about a half hour every day, and then goes about his business. And now he has to go to this jail. So,
Dude, Melania destroys this person, Carrie. Like, what the fuck?
yeah, but do you think Melania is having consistent sex with him or cares about any of his aspirations at all at this point? There's no way. She's probably hooking out with Barron at this point. Are you kidding me? Have you seen those two?
Her son? Excuse me?
Yeah. Oh, you're really going to give me that kind of reaction after the
No, I'm
animes you
joking.
told me you've been watching lately? Yeah, that's what I thought, kid. So, yeah, I don't think Melania's sexual interests are in Trump, and I think he finds it elsewhere, as we've seen through court cases, very well documented cases, that he goes and finds it elsewhere. So yeah, no, that's good for him that he lost the weight. And I won't get too deep because I think it's a little boring talking about the current GOP field or anything like that. But what I will say is, and I'm going to say this right now just so it's recorded, and I don't care who's listening, and maybe it's just for our own reference here. Trump can't beat Biden. He just can't. Trump cannot beat Biden head-to-head in an election. He has less of a base than he even had when he lost in 2020. There's no new momentum. There's no new fans he's going to gain. It doesn't matter how much of a shock to the system you think this.
No, I think you're wrong.
Okay, you think I'm wrong, so that's all right. But I'm just letting it be known to everyone right now. Trump can very easily win the GOP field, especially after what I saw the other night. The only guy who can challenge him is, amazingly, because he had great stage presence, is Vivek, and which is the name of a lord in Elder Scrolls, which is hilarious to me. I don't know where they got that. But his parents, I guess, were big Lord of the Ring or Elder Scrolls fans. But and Vivek is just a surrogate for Trump at this point. He's just a spoiler, just trying to rattle the GOP field that's in there right now. So he's going to get the GOP primary, but I'm sorry, he cannot beat Biden. I can already tell. I can tell by the reactions in this country, the people that I've spoken to that did or did not vote for him before, and just me, who voted for the guy twice. I voted for the guy twice, and I know what my feelings are towards Trump, and I know a lot of people were feeling the same way. So, well, why do you think? You think there's enough of a spark plug going on from this picture?
I think the mugshot is the beginning of it. Yeah, I think, dude, you're severely underestimating how like people are realizing how severe the situation is. Like, if they really put Trump behind bars, that's like the end of like any form of legitimacy that the American legal system has any claim to, And I think that is enough in itself to unite the right? Like that in itself, it's enough to bring together like the neocons, bring together like the extremists, like everyone. I feel like this is the final battle, and I think people are going to come together, and it's going to be, maybe it's not enough, but it's going to be close. I think it's going to be a good battle.
So I'll just let you speak to that. I'll just plainly say I disagree, but the one thing that I want to mention in there with what you're saying is, and this is kind of speaking more broadly, is there's a big bifurcation in the Republican base going on right now between, let's just say, issues or fears people have over an overreaching government, think deep state, think what you're talking about with Trump getting arrested. There are people where that's a concern for them. Then there's a whole nother swath of people who are concerned about school choice, inflation, geopolitical issues. They're kind of going back to the more classical discussions that we used to have pre-Trump about the condition of our country, taxes, boring stuff like that. So there are people who don't care that this is happening to Trump. because they were all ready to move on from him anyways, and they're not going to get pulled back into his orbit just because they think this is a overreach by the alphabet bureaucratic state. Now, could I be wrong? Yes, but that's just what I think personally, and I'm going to keep going with that. I think there's too many people who are ready to move on to him by the time 2020 came around. Okay. Well, our viewers can choose to believe the American or the New Zealander. So
yeah, I think as the more they persecute him, the more it's going to bring people that didn't care into caring. You know,
it certainly gives him more of a cultural pulse. I don't know if it gives him more votes in a general election, but what I will say is. It's funny how old we're getting because 2016, it's like those memes. 2016 was 30 years ago. No, 2016 is going to be 10 years ago soon. And last night, it is messed up, but also last night was the first night since 2016 where I felt like I was back in 2016 again. Like for a brief moment there when I was scrolling around on the websites I usually like to scroll around and the mugshot came out, I just felt like it was 2016 again. And that's a very potent force. That's a very potent force. And that's what the I'm saying. Yes, that's the indescribable variable that tricked everyone back then and got him elected, tricked people like me. And who knows, maybe he can trick me again. I mean, that's kind of the way that we're heading in. I mean, DeSantis has been continually embarrassing himself. I'm still going to run with it just because I'm too far in the game. But, yeah, he didn't have the best showing.
You know what's funny about DeSantis? He's lower in the polls now after announcing than before he announced. So before he announced he was running, he was actually higher in the polls.
Yeah, well, he could have done. I'm not sure what the earlier strategy is, but you think of Joe Biden running from his basement and winning. DeSantis kind of had that going because there was an allure around his accomplishments as governor where you didn't really know him that well and just knew him kind of speaking off and sparring with reporters from time to time, so you really liked him. But now that people have seen more of him, it's not. There was a good thing I read. It said he's basically a Boy Scout, and that's what it's coming off of. He's saying, I will just keep saying the right things and going and doing X and Y in Iowa. I will go to the baseball field and throw the ball. He's running a math equation, and you can't do that anymore. Meanwhile, Vivek just gets up on stage and says ridiculous stuff, and people love to hear it. People like to hear it. That's what wins these days. It's a shame. That's what we've gotten to. And I think people just have wishful thinking. And also, it's an inherent flaw in democracy. I understand it's a republic. It's barely even – it's not even that, really. But that let's just say a democratic type of government structures that involve voting, that's a flaw in them, is that eventually you'll get to the lowest common denominator, and they just want to hear what rattles them, what kind of like sparks something in them, etc., and not really want to hear, well, I think that inflation's a big problem and we can fix that with tax credits and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, you know, it just I get what you're saying, but I just think there's way more people that are over Trump and ready to let it go than people who are ready to take the big fight, as you're saying, you know, against the Fulton County, Georgia penal system.
I think the spark's coming back. I think the spark's coming back. Trump's feeling it. My boy Oliver Anthony, he's feeling the spark as well. So.
Don't even get me started.
Shout out to him.
Shout out to the rich men north of New Zealand, north of that crater in Australia that I always talk about.
Seriously, we endorse that song here at the Pink Boys. So.
No, I don't. Yeah, stop. I cannot stand that song. It is like the anthem for every conservative everywhere. Just whiny and pointless. Whiny and I'm pointing out the thing and why people are hypocrites and why they're bad, but I'm really just complaining and not doing anything about it. Like,
it's cool how people complain about, you know, the right creating no culture, and then the minute someone does something that's approximates culture, oh, this is like terrible and all that. Like, come on. Dude.
I'm sorry, but the guy playing the banjo in the woods is that's already fixed culture that we know about. That's not really creating anything new. And you know what the worst part is? It's emblematic of the conservatism in general, where they boost that song to the top, knowing it's not even, you know, there's nothing new about it. There's nothing fresh about it in a creative sense, but because it's saying something that they might like.
To the common person's soul.
No, it does not
It
speak to
does.
oh my God. The common idiot soul, maybe. We'll go with that.
Okay, let's cope.
Yeah. All right. Whips out the internet words. It's okay. All right. You got anything else to say about any politics in general? I had to get that out of the way. The Trump mugshot. I'm a fan. Look,
no,
don't get me wrong. I'm a fan of it. So keep it going. It's entertaining. Trump's 4 years of presidency were some of the best years of my life. So keep going. Yeah. What do you got? What are
Trump
you into?
W, Biden L, Vivek light W.
Okay, there we go. The votes are in. The poll is in. So, all right, what do you got? What's on your mind these days? Before I say something that's on my mind.
I think, dude, I've been like watching a lot of like fucking anime, and
Yeah.
a lot of it is like slice of life and like romance.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, I gotta tell you, I think I'm fucking like really lesbian pilled right now.
Okay.
Like,
okay.
like
I mean, you're a guy. It's nice to see girls hooking up with each other because you like girls.
it just seems like a pure form of love, you know? Like you seeing like a cute girl with another cute girl. Like, what more? I would want my daughter to do that. Like, that seems like a wholesome fucking form of love. Yeah.
Sorry, sorry, I wasn't expecting that reaction out of myself. Okay, would you like your daughter to be fat and have stubby short hair? Do you want her to be that kind of lesbian?
No, that's the caveat though. Like, if I want my daughter to be a lesbian and have, but only if she's a beautiful person herself. She's like really feminine, and her fucking partner is like a beautiful lesbian with like long hair as well. If any of them look anything like a butch person, then it's off the table.
It's off the table.
Like, dude, really, like, they should allow fucking gay marriage and stuff, but only if they pass like an attractiveness test. You know?
Well, if you're not procreating and you're just two people who love each other and you're the same sex, then what good are you besides eye candy? So yeah, I mean, who wants to look at a couple that won't even contribute biologically to the world if they're not good looking, right? So yeah, maybe you're working with something here. Maybe you're working with something. I love you have an RPG maker view of how your child is going to be a lesbian or how you would like them to be a lesbian. It's pretty funny. It's like O.J. Simpson. If I were to do it, if I were to have a daughter that's a lesbian. So, yeah. Okay. Well, you keep plugging away at that. And when that actually happens someday, let me know.
It looks wholesome. You know, you don't have to think about your fucking daughter getting like smanged or anything like that.
I think you need to go looking for. Oh, sorry. Keep going. You're in the middle of a great point. Oh, it's fine. Okay. So I think that to find, because I had a really good. I mean, I had a good sturdy anime phase for about 4 years, maybe back in college. Watched all the good ones. Got into some of the more niche stuff. I don't mind the slice of life stuff. In fact, I prefer it to we need to kill God and then blah blah blah. So I'm all right with that. But I didn't see anything involving lesbians. So I think you've been looking for this a little bit. So you must be doing your homework, right? I love that there was one you recommended to me, and my friend was like, "It's not even on my anime list." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's probably disbarred from that one because you've been finding the real good stuff. You even find the stuff that gets you on the kind of watch list that you don't want to be on these days."
Don't do that. That everything I watch can be found on Crunchyroll. Most of it.
Really? Okay. Yeah. That's the barometer for something to be appetizing enough to let a human being not feel disgusting while watching it. So, do you have any that you could share?
Dude, along the same lines, I'm getting into the concept of fucking vampires because I just read this manga that's about like this guy who like marries like a vampire queen, and it's pretty fucking sick, dude. Like,
so I have something that could combine the both of those in a really great way for you. But before I jump into that, I wasn't finished with the lesbian stuff. One,
lesbian vampires.
Not yes. I do have something for you. Because I have been professionally educated in vampire studies. It was a class I took in college. It's an English class. Can you share any of the lesbian animes that you've been watching for our loyal viewers and myself? I'm about to go on vacation for a week, and it could come to the table.
Yuri Is My Job. That's one of them.
Okay.
I watched Bocce the Rock, but that's not really Yuri in itself. But there's like a lot of artwork that depicts the people as in Yuri relationships, and that's the two I'll give you.
All right, that's a starter pack.
yeah.
Starter pack. I'm looking at pictures for Yuri Is My Job right now. I'm seeing what you're looking at. Did you ever watch Orin High School Host Club?
No, but I've heard about it.
Required viewing. If you're watching stuff like this, it's required viewing, and you're gonna have to be watching that.
Oh yeah, special one for the viewers. Check out this really cool anime called Onimai. I think you guys would like it.
No, I do not. I don't know what he's talking about, and I do not condone that. But I did not see the intro for it and was disgusted by what I didn't see because I never watched it. So, yeah, don't.
Well, I loved it. This hypothetical anime that we didn't both see.
In Orin High School Host Club, it's interesting because this underprivileged girl gets into an extremely wealthy private school and has to pretend to be a guy to get into this after-school guys club. And then the guy who's in charge of that club is the most popular, good-looking boy in the school. And he starts weirdly falling for the girl while she's pretending to be a guy. So he's basically falling for a guy, and it's really funny. It ends really well, and it's got a wholesome ending. One of the best anime endings I've ever seen. So, get that one going, Tyson.
Dude,
actually, I'd really like to know your thoughts on it. I would
imagine like the relief on that guy's mind. He's like, wait, you're a girl? Holy shit, thank God. He's like,
you never know. Maybe he really wanted it to be
a
guy. Maybe he wanted it to be a guy,
No.
No.
It's physically impossible for someone to be the most popular kid in school and be gay at the same time. There's no way.
That's true, because usually if you're just the gay guy, then you're kind of like you become a product. You become a girl's best, gay best friend or something like that. You know what I mean? So
no, it's like you get put in your own niche, your own circle. It's like
okay. Yeah, okay, you're right. Yeah, you by nature of being that, you'll be labeled, and you can't be the popular guy. Yeah. That's like the pantheon of high school hierarchy. You know what I mean? Which I think is a really interesting subject.
I had something interesting with the gay guys in my school as well, but maybe I want to see if it happened to you guys. There's a couple people.
Did they offer you a trade?
Tyson trades.
Yeah, that's what he meant all along by that name. Sorry, keep going. You're good.
No, there were a couple guys in my school who were like the most fucking gayest, displaying all the signs of like them being homosexual, right? Like they had the gay voice, they were like doing the limp arm shit, they wore like flamboyant colors, but then like they just weren't gay. Like I saw them on their Facebook after they graduated and then went on to college and stuff, and then they got like a girlfriend. I'm like, aren't you? What are you doing? How are you not gay? Like that
sounds like you need to get gay to get a girlfriend there, buddy. That's what needs to happen. No, I know a lot of people like that as well. I don't know what it is. There's a loyal listener that we have of this show that would say that there's parasites in their intestines that make them that way.
So they're just faking it, or what? Like,
no,
there's no way a
I
straight
don't
guy
think
like
they're
acts the way
faking
that
it.
they did.
That's an age-old question that I couldn't answer for you. Are you sure they weren't just highly metrosexual?
Dude, trust me. Like,
sounds like you have a scorned lover.
No, I'm not. It's just bizarre. I'm like, I like to think like my gaydar is good, right? And when I see someone like that, I'm like, come on, this is like tutorial like level easy of like, is this person gay or not? And then they just turn out to like not be gay. I'm like, what's going on here?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I'm not sure how much I want to reveal here, but I always thought this one meme I saw recently that was, it showed a relaxed guy at home, and it was British people when they get home and don't have to fake the accent anymore. That's what I kind of think of, which is funny because I saw a video of a really old British guy who fought in World War II, and he just didn't have an accent. He just didn't have an accent anymore. He just talked like an American. And I thought to myself,
Really?
I said, he just got too old. He got too sick of faking it. And no one wants to talk about that anymore. No one wants to talk about that for some weird reason. I don't know why. But it's the same thing with gay guys. It's like, you really talking like that? You know what I mean? You're talking like that. Okay, I guess we'll just do that then. That's just fine that you're doing that. I mean, I don't know if they
believe that you were speaking like a real human being before coming out, but then after you come out, somehow your voice just changed, right? Like that's believable somehow.
Actually, wow, I did know someone that came out during college and started talking in a more gay, a feminine fry. It's not even a feminine tone. Actually, it's its own voice. It's what they imagine to be a feminine tone to sound like. Is that what we're going for here? Because women don't talk the way that gay men talk, And
they're not even doing like a good impersonation of it. That's true.
If I were a gay guy, I'd be talking like a Valley girl. I'd be like, what? Like, oh my God. Like, I would be doing that whole thing. I'd be all up in that.
You want to take me into the bathroom and do what with me?
Sure.
You want to watch Onimai, the anime, with me?
I don't think that's... let me regain my composure on that one. It's just this is your most sane Onimai viewer, apparently. All right, let's move off of that one, but not completely. Because what I was gonna say earlier is there is a lesbian vampire short story that predates Dracula, and it's called Carmilla, and it's a great read. And if you're into that subject, lesbians and vampires, then you should go and take a look at that. It's people always think Dracula is the genesis of the concept for eternal life at the behest of someone else and giving yourself to someone else, but it's actually it's a very involved thematic stroll between these two characters, just kind of intertwining themselves with each other and not sure why they are and if they should, and it's really poetic. It's a great read. It's
now
called
that
Carmilla.
I think about it more, I'm kind of against the idea of lesbian vampires.
Okay.
Because I want to self-insert and be the guy with the vampire queen, so I don't want another lesbian there to take my girl.
I mean, do you though? I don't know. That's a tough job. But also, the other thing I forgot to mention, my point number 2, besides give me the name of those 2 lesbian animes, was there's a concept, and I don't think I brought it up on the show, but I may have brought it up to you, and you can wiki it. It's called lesbian bed death. And apparently it's the concept that 2 years into a lesbian relationship, they just stop having sex. They forego it. They don't find the pleasure that they originally did out of it anymore. And it's so funny because you see in the movies, it'll be 2 lesbian girls get done and they'll be like, that was great. You did great. And I'll think in my head, what did they do that was so great? What did they do that was so great? Dude, they just rubbed, what? What am I supposed to do with that?
What's funny is dude, there's no way that scissoring even feels that good. Just be honest, girls. Come on. Come on. You're fucking rubbing it like that? Then no, it doesn't feel good. Come on.
I feel like scissoring is more of an anti-male action than a real pleasurable sexual maneuver. I mean, you could be rubbing tons of things up against that before it starts feeling better than. So what? Just because it's another one, that's what makes it feel especially good? There's no way. There's no, and you know what? I've actually never watched a real video of women scissoring before, which is good for me.
No, I've only seen
have
it in
you ever
South
watched
Park.
that? Well, okay, I don't know if that. Do they have a live action cutaway of it or something? Or
no, it's just 2 Canadians in South Park, just scissoring and shit.
Really? Okay, that's fair enough. But if you think about it, if all you're left with is scissoring and eating each other out, and I guess that's when you start bringing toys into the equation. Well, come on, That'll get old. And then imagine you're doing it with some fat girl with glasses and short hair that talks like a guy. That's not good. No one wants that. Who's wanting that? Dude. Yeah, that's not good for business. That's not good for business. And that doesn't happen in Carmilla. So imagine if you're a lesbian vampire, you got to do that for all eternity. You live for 2,000 years and you get lesbian bed death 2 years in. You're done. You're done. So I don't know what to tell you about that. There's another great early
I think you just
vampire.
made my point for me. That's why vampire romances are strictly heterosexual.
I think that's why they have to be. But there's a lot of aspects about the vampire that are kind of predator versus prey, where the prey gets to a certain point where they've almost accepted their fate to be enraptured by this vampire and being encapsulated by them. Yeah, so maybe that's what you want your vampire queen to do to you.
No, it's like my fantasy is like I apply for like this trial, right, to be the vampire queen's husband, and I compete against like 50 other guys, and then I use my mind and I win against the trial, and then she's like, okay, fine, I'll take you as my husband, and then she like turns me into a vampire as well, and then yeah.
Okay. So there's a fictional trial that you have. So, I think you're going in a lot of good directions. I always thought the relationship between the biter and the bitey is just such an entrancing one. It's really kind of, I think the strongest allegory for it, at least in the modern day, is losing your virginity. It's something where once you're bit, once he puts it in, it's something you can never come back from all eternity. And that one person that did it is the person that you fear you'll be sired to for all time, and that will never change. That's a moment in time that will never change. And I think that there's all kinds of illusions you can draw with vampires, and it changes culturally. You know, it used to be back in the day before they started giving more cultural connotations to how vampires interact with people. It was just Nosferatu. Just, I'm here, you're all dead, and that's it. There's nothing you can do about it. It's like Last Voyage of the Demeter. You know what I mean? Just rolling up on people and doing what needs to be done. So I mean, look, I love anything to do with vampire stuff, and obviously, you know,
would
Vampire
you be in favor
Diaries is great.
of a vampire elite ruling the world?
No, they're too blood hungry. I like my vampires stuck in the underground, moving from place to place. Yeah, I like the fact that maybe
kind of
they.
no.
Okay, so you would like to be ruled by blood-sucking vampires?
Because then they would have the trial that I was talking about. They would have the trial.
Okay, so you're fine with it because you, who probably orders Uber Eats every other day and hasn't worked out in a month, would win that trial. That I would very easily beat you. What if we meet each other in the final round of the vampire trial? Dude.
My tactic is just like, Moira, please, come on. Just please.
I'll just be like, I know you've always wanted this, but, you know, I mean, I would fit in perfectly as just a complete narcissist.
No.
I would be I don't want to be involved in some weird royalty games with some vampire queen. I'm too much of a narcissist to share that with someone. So yeah, I'd let you have it, and then I just disappear across another realm. I'd be almost like Lestat in Interview with a Vampire, or it's Interview with the Vampire, which is amazing proof of the Mandela effect. But yeah, I would let you have it. I would let you have it. We would let it go from there.
Thank you.
So.
Much appreciated.
Anytime. See, this is what we do for each other on the Pink Boys. We trade favors. So
I was just thinking, you could have like a vampiric 69 if you and your wife were both vampire. Like, you could suck the blood out of her neck, and then she would do it on your neck, and it's like a circle. You know?
You do not drink other vampires' bloods. Come on, buddy. That's simple rules here. You're not going to win the trials not knowing these rules. You capture someone, and then you both feed on them at the same time while doing stuff to each other. That's a vampiric threesome, you know? And you bond with each other over eating this person, you know? You know, it's funny. Kind of going into our next subject here. I was on vacation recently to a nondescript Caribbean island, and I met a girl who said I looked like Jacob from from Twilight. So she said she was getting into Twilight lately and said I kind of looked like him. And then one thing led to another, and we ended up having a very nice night together. And I noticed that she was much younger than me, and not like Oni my levels. Okay, so
and folks, this was Little St. James Island, and this kid was 13 years old.
Yeah. I went to a vacation to this weird island with these like marble flooring and this little, and so it's funny. It just something made me feel old for a second. She was much younger. She was in her early 20s. Let's just say that.
She was on the beach playing her Nintendo Switch. Like, hey, what are you doing?
I was like, what's goody?
Buy you ice cream.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so I don't know why guys complain. It's so easy to pick up girls. You just do that, right? You know what I mean? No, just kidding. But she was basically still in college, and we were texting each other that night, and I realized that while we were texting, she would send me 3 pictures between each text, whether what was right in front of her right now or a picture of herself, then another picture of herself, then a few texts. And I realized that this girl was pretending she was on Snapchat with me when she was really just texting with me. So it was kind of like her boomer olive branch that she extended to me, said like, yes, I'll text with you because I know that's the only thing you could do because you're a boomer, but I'm just going to pretend it's Snapchat. So what I failed to realize later is kids don't text anymore. Kids who are in their early 20s and let's just say late teens, they all talk to each other on WhatsApp, Snapchat especially, and Instagram
WhatsApp is just
DMs.
texting, though.
Yeah, get WhatsApp out of there. So it's basically just Snapchat and Instagram. That's all people talk on now. When I was younger, we would all text each other, and then maybe we'd send Facebook DMs to each other as memes. Maybe like send memes to each other on Facebook DMs, or not really talk on them at all. Maybe it's like a friend that you don't keep in touch with over the phone. But I just think it's really crazy that texting is just – it's out of there now. It's out of the ballpark. So I don't know. I think that's sad. I think that's sad because you're very definitive when you text. You can be short. What you send stays out there, and that's that. But Snapchat adds for these really like amorphous, fluctuating conversations that really.
I kind of hate Snapchat. It's like I hate the fact that the conversations are deleted. I love having like a track record of every message I've sent. It's like you're building history with someone. It's nice.
It is, and it's weird. There's just such an impermanence to the way that younger people communicate now, and there's no conviction in the words when you can't just send a text, and instead it's just flopping around on Instagram.
No, maybe they're right, because if you think about before technology came, right, every conversation that you had with someone was impermanent. If you could have spoken to someone for like a year straight. Combined, right? And then if you would go on a voyage, and that would be like the last time you would see them ever in your life, and the only place the conversation would live on would be in your memory. And if you lost your memory, that would be it forever. So maybe like relegating it to memory isn't like the worst thing. It's sort of like makes you adjust to the impermanence of life. Yes,
but also if you're talking about something like that, they would send letters to each other, which is the ultimate symbol of permanent love. That's true, yeah. It's just you write letters. So maybe I should have just written a letter, But yeah, it's
mailed it to
her. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting, and I don't know. It's just if I ever do that again, you're not gonna get me on Snapchat or Instagram or any of those things to talk.
You know what's crazy for
it's
fucking like
or
Gen X or millennials and even the Gen Z in America versus like people outside of America? You guys don't love to call people for some reason. Like, I don't know about you guys, but in New Zealand, like everyone calls each other still.
Really?
Yeah.
I think there's different rules to that. So when you're dating someone, call each other. Work-related stuff, call. I'm sorry, it's a lot easier to get work done when you call instead of just send emails. I'm sorry, it just really is. Depends on the work that you do, but for the most part, just call people. It's a lot simpler. But when it comes to two guys who are friends, you have guys that are friends that they'll just call you something that could have very easily been texted. I don't like that. I think that's strange. You don't need to do that unless it's something you got to catch up about something. You know, it's about work or family or some girl or something. It's like, dude, I gotta tell you this story. That makes sense. But I'll have a friend that'll call me and be like, hey, you want to go golf later? It's like, you just text me
That's
that.
fine. I like that.
You like that?
You
Okay,
dislike
all
that,
right.
really?
Yeah, I do dislike that because it's usually just kind of inconvenient. Like it just is like, is that what we're doing right now? You could have just. It would have been easier for them to text me that too. And you know why? Not to get too personal, but I kind of went through some stages in life where when you were getting a phone call, it was probably bad news, and it was probably bad news related to a family member. So I think whenever my phone rings and it's someone that I talk to or text with consistently, there's a small subconscious part of me that thinks something is wrong. Something bad just happened. So when I pick up that call and it's just them asking to go golfing, I'm a little angry at them. I'm angry, yeah, because they brought back these weird subconscious feelings that I didn't want, and I wouldn't have had to deal with if I just looked down at my phone and it said, "Yo, you want to grab a drink?" You know what I mean? So maybe that's just me. So, any further thoughts on the Zoomer communication conundrum, or are we good?
No, I'm good.
All right, what do you got?
I think it's time we had the final battle. I think it's time we settle the score with fucking Oppenheimer.
I don't know if I'm all the. It's been a second since I've seen it. You know what? I'm not going to make excuses for myself. Yeah, what did you think? You tell me what you thought? And it's funny because going into it, we're obviously in an eternal contrarian battle with each other. So it was interesting to see which sides we both fell on with this one. So you go ahead.
I think it's a humongous piece of shit, and it's Nolan's worst film ever.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. His word. I won't ask why you think it's worse than X or Y. That's fine. You really do think it's his worst film ever.
I've seen his whole filmography, right? And I've been able to sit through every single one of them, but this is the only one of them where I've been like actively like, bruh, can I just get out of the theater as soon as possible? You know?
Really? Okay, I promise I'm not trying to put you on the spot, and it's okay if you don't know the answer. What was the worst Nolan movie before you saw Oppenheimer?
Memento.
Really? Okay, that's one people like to say is really good. I think they just like saying that because it's one of his earlier movies, so they can be like,
they like saying that because it has a unique premise and like stylistically it's interesting, but it gets old after like half an hour. You know, it's like
I heard Tenet was a fat L.
It was an L, but not as big as Oppenheimer.
Not as big as the gargantuan blocking out the sun L that was Oppenheimer. So I'll just preface it before you go ahead. Look, you know I bash movies all the time. You cannot find any depth in a movie that there's no depth in a movie that you can't find in a young adult book that's like 200 pages long. I'm sorry. If you're looking for something other than bland entertainment in a movie, then just go elsewhere. I don't know what to tell you about that. But I liked it. I enjoyed it. It might have drug on for about 20 extra minutes towards the end with the court scenes, but I loved most of the movie. I left having a lot to say, and I enjoyed it. And it's tough to get me to go out and enjoy a movie like that. But what did you not like about it?
So, okay, I'm going to whip up my friggin' notes here.
Okay, here it goes.
The document. So, first complaint, pacing was dog shit. So, dude, the first initial half of them laying out the background of Oppenheimer was okay, but they really should have like changed it after the test scene. Like the whole hour and a half of political like courtroom drama was so freaking tedious. They should have just deleted that entire scene and replaced it with like a 20-minute shot of them of Oppenheimer like reflecting on his mistakes as he like travels Japan or some shit like that. And then like even like the battle that he fights in the courtroom, it's just like boring. Like, yeah, I get it, bro. You have a martyr complex. Like, you can show his remorse in a different way. Like, dude.
Well, you feel like that scene with the president was totally worth it, though. So you like that, right?
That was okay. That was fine.
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
I just feel like people say like they shouldn't have shown Hiroshima depicted in the film, and I'm like, why not? Like, it would have like made the film so much more interesting. And it's like Oppenheimer did eventually visit Japan in the future, so that would have been a better stage for guilt and his remorse than whatever this gay courtroom shit is, you know? And like they didn't build on his feeling of regret as well. Like they sort of just assumed that you knew that he was regretful, and then they just ran with it. Like the you remember the scene like where he was like giving the speech, and then the people on the benches are like being melted and shit. Like people want to suck off that scene so much, but I don't see what's so special about it. Like that idea of a scene is like something a film student would have come up with. It's like, dude, what if like he's like giving a speech, but then like he sees a vision of like the bomb, and then like they just melted, and like, dude, are you like 18 or something?
I actually do agree with you that scene was a bit ham-fisted. I do see what you're getting at there. Sorry.
And then you have character roads that lead nowhere. Like randomly there was like this scene of like Emily Blunt, the mom, like being a piece of shit for some reason, but then like, just like nothing gets resolved. And then,
I like that.
you know, it's like, in conclusion, you know, I like character study films. Like one of my favorite films is like Lost in Translation, and to me, there's like nothing appealing about his character in the first place. You know, his sins aren't fascinating or interesting enough for him to be appreciated as like a villain or even like a fucking anti-hero. At his core, he's like a fucking boring person who makes boring choices, who like through some miracle of God, like somehow happens to be one of the core pieces of like some important like event in history, but he even manages to make that into a fucking snooze fest, you know?
You're really going at him there. So
yeah.
The one thing that I was just trying to keeping in my mind while you were talking was they went out of their way to show the military. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, okay, something just cut off in the background. I wasn't sure what that was. So they went really far out of their way to show. I wouldn't say they went far out of the way, but they made it a point that when they were done with the production of the bomb, it was ultimately in the hands of the military. And the separation between the science state and the mini community that Oppenheimer created at Los Alamos was cut off completely after the creation of the bomb. And they had a scene where he said, we'll take it from here. That from that point forward, they're showing the difference between the military execution of the bomb and the scientific process that went on to get them there. So Oppenheimer not seeing that bomb got off was meant to be a punch in the gut to the viewer in Oppenheimer that he can't even experience. We can't even experience this creation that they went through to create, that we went through with him, that he created. We can't see it in the same way he can't see it because he wasn't meant to and we aren't meant to as the viewer. So I think it's supposed to bother you that we didn't see that explosion at Hiroshima. But I think you're saying it would have helped for his overall guilt complex if we did see it or we saw him seeing the aftermath of it. I get it. I just think they're very differently about that.
The guilt is real. And if the guilt is real, then you can show that by including Hiroshima scene, you know?
I mean, I just think it would be really corny if they had a cutaway and then just someone pointing up this guy like, oh no, he come bomb, and then it blows. Is that what you want? Like, I don't get it.
No. He visits Hiroshima in the 60s, and it would have been cool to see him like visit like some post-war places and just like witness the destruction that the bomb caused like 20 years ago.
Yeah, but he had that crisis of conscience before he actually went over there, and they couldn't show him not having that crisis of conscience 20 years later. I mean, he obviously had it before that. But yeah, it probably could have helped put a bow on it. I think there's some points that I think some of the things you're saying I actually agree with, but that's what I thought made the movie good. Is that at the end of the day, I think Nolan did a good job, and you made a good point when we talked off mic about this. Is that maybe Nolan didn't intend to do this, but Oppenheimer just comes off as a narcissist bore who's not really sure what he actually believes in. He gets in trouble for being a communist, but he never fully actually committed to communism and can't really speak to it. He feels guilty about making the most destructive item in human history, but is also the person who did it, which is funny. It's like, oh, some people who might have, maybe driven the car in and out of Los Alamos feel a little bit guilty. And it's just like the guy who actually made it feels guilty as well. And it's just like, well, what did you expect? Well, quite literally, what did you expect to happen? Because he went and put together this bomb, and as they say in the movie, he was the mayor of Los Alamos, because this bomb is an image of his ego. The explosion of this bomb is his ego. And he put that above the guilt and the ramifications of his actions of putting this bomb together. And I think the movie showed that really well. And there's a really short part in there where he's about to go on stage and talk to, the dangers of nuclear war and, the consequences of what he did. And someone said to him, he said, "Are you even sure what you believe in?" And they never solved that. And I think that's a really good point, is that he's not sure what he believes in besides himself. And then besides a few enlightening conversations with Einstein, which only boosted his ego further, those are the only moments you really saw where he had some clarity. I mean, he wasn't a good father in his relationship with his wife, even though his wife was loyal to him. He couldn't decide what he actually wanted to be as far as a cultural icon, but he just knew that he wanted to be on the cover of Time. And he's on the cover of Time, and he pretends woe is me, I'm on the cover of it. I thought the movie did a really good job at capturing the spirit of Oppenheimer's narcissism. Whether that's the way he actually was in real life, I have no idea, but they gave me a character. Yeah, I thought they nailed it, and that was fine.
You said something really funny that I liked. You said off the air, you said this film shows why scientists are freaks and autistic retards, and it encapsulates why people disrespect scientists for good reason. And I agree with that, but the reason I can't agree with why that makes it a good film is because for a fact that that's not the intention of Nolan. You know that he made the film to suck off Oppenheimer and say, oh, this is a testament to humanly Reddit science and all that. So I can't get on board with that.
So you think that for real?
Yeah. Nolan isn't that deep. Fair. He's not that intelligent of a filmmaker.
I think you're probably right. So what you're saying is I'm smarter than Nolan.
Sure.
You're like, I'll let him win this quick one easily. But I will say, as much as I want to be pompous and think highly of myself, I'm not going to sit around and pretend 40 minutes of a Robert Downey Jr. Senate hearing or whatever that was, Senate Judiciary Committee hearing was high art. I mean, that got that drug on a little bit. That really did. And it's and he didn't get it. Oh, he was mad about this. And I was just I get it, but you could have shrunk that down by 20 minutes. You could have.
I filmed it in black and white, therefore it's automatically art face.
Well, the reasons why he did some in black and white and some in color, right?
Yeah.
Or no? Okay.
No, I did, yeah.
Well, okay, what is it? No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do it. But for the listeners, it's black and white whenever what? Whenever it's objective, and in color when it's Oppenheimer's point of view. I think that's what they were trying to say with that.
Yep.
So, which is kind of hackish now that I think about it. That is a little hackish. So, but I think it. Yeah.
It's like the fucking. So you put the square block in the square hole. It's you need to guide the viewer to know that, really. I think they can distinguish that themselves.
Yeah, well, you can't be too sure with viewers nowadays, so you can never be
And then again,
too
they
sure.
are brainless, so yeah.
But okay, well, let's put it this way then. Did you like the move? Okay, first off, one of my complaints about it was that they did not do a good enough job at showing why Oppenheimer is a good scientist. He actually never looked like a good manager or leader of men at Los Alamos. All he did was drop a marble in a fucking bowl every day.
Yeah, he doesn't do anything.
Yeah, I get you there. Yeah, I get it. There were some things that that I don't think they nail well. And then he'll meet Niels Bohr or whoever, and be like, oh, mein Gott. you are so smart, and then I always say German. I don't know what I do. I'm sorry. I didn't know what nationality Niels Bohr was as I was speaking, so I just went for that was just a spray and pray all over the place there. But
Oh my God.
why? Oh my God! So why they never really touched on? He just happened to start falling into conversations. We're like, oh my God, it's the amazing Oppenheimer. They were just making fun of him in a classroom 5 minutes ago. Now he's the amazing there wasn't enough like giving him an aura, But
you know what I did like though, the scenes with Einstein. I feel like they did Einstein good.
That actor crushed it. He did. Yeah. He did. Yeah, he definitely did.
There is this like aura of Einstein where people think, oh, he's like fucking God brain, like galaxy brain shit. But then they humanize him in a really cool way where it's like, no, he made a really cool insane breakthrough when he was younger, but his brain could keep up, and he spent the rest of his years like trying to chase that afterglow of his earlier success.
Really?
But he couldn't surpass his own limitations, and I think he accepted it towards the end of his life. And I think that shows a really good perspective on how you have to work on the shoulders of giants. You can't, even Einstein, he has to pass it down to someone else. He can't do it by himself,
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah, that's a good point. So all right, I'll put it this way then. Are you okay with the movie up until after the bomb explodes? Are you all right with all that? Oh, wow. Okay, wow. Jeez. Yeah. All right, we'll let that one go then. So, Tyson thinks it's a slog. It's a little hammy in the way that it presents Oppenheimer's guilt. Just not really enough there for you to feel for the character, which I can get it. It is a little cold, but Nolan's not really good at bringing emotion out of his actors, really.
You really should watch Inception. Like, I think you would like that.
You think so? I'm just so sick of it.
Or if you want to be like ultra patrician, you should watch Insomnia, the Nolan film that no one ever remembers.
That's not the one where Christian Bale has to stay awake. That's The Machinist, right?
Yeah.
Is Insomnia a different movie about people staying awake?
It's about Al Pacino trying to stay awake. But it's actually really good, though.
Okay, so you have your reasons for hating the movie, and I liked it because I think it portrayed Oppenheimer as a narcissist bore who was indecisive about everything he did in life and had a martyr complex. And you don't think Nolan's smart enough to do that, which is fair. So we have a lot of fair points getting tossed around here. So we can talk about okay movies as gentlemen. So all right, fair enough. You got anything else on Oppenheimer?
No, I'm good.
I was going to say real quick, just because, we're just about over an hour, but we'll sling it for just another second here and stick on movies. Just because I'm a gigantic fan. And also, by the way, I will see Barbie when it comes out. I will see that.
It's already out.
Video. on video. Oh, okay. Like, I'm not going to the theaters for that. I'm sorry. But I have a lot to say about the new Mission Impossible movie, but that's just because I'm a giant Mission Impossible fan. I've seen every single one at least 8 times. It's not doing well, and I understand why it's not doing well. Of course, that's the first thing you look at. You look at how much money it's made. You're not like
because I want a sequel. I want it to do well and get a sequel.
Well, you think they're not going to make a part 2 to a blockbuster franchise with Tom Cruise just because it went up against a few tough movies at the end of the summer? Well, it's fine. It'll bounce. And I think a lot of people want to stick around for part 2. But I'll just say real quick, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the movie. It didn't feel like a Mission Impossible movie to me. It felt like a Tom Cruise action movie. I think they handled the AI concept well. It wasn't as in your face or flaccid as a lot of other movies would like to do it. It was more controlled. It was tempered the way the AI was. It wasn't like, oh, it's taking control of the car and now it's driving us off a cliff. It was just, it kind of was like finding its openings. And the thing that made it the most interesting to me is that, and I don't know if the movie was this smart as what I'm saying, the AI is trying to gamify the character of Ethan Hunt. So the AI is trying to say, okay, if you were to have a person, a soldier, an agent who is able to do what Ethan Hunt does. How can I compute that, and how can I predict what he is going to do, his emotions, his mannerisms, his physical ability, everything. And this movie is about Ethan trying to keep up with this AI, but the other half is kind of unspoken, this AI trying to keep up with Ethan and what he does. He's almost stress testing this AI in a way, which essentially is the plot to Metal Gear Solid 2. What is it? Sons of Liberty, I think, whatever the second one was on the PS2, where he finds out that he was actually a stress test for this large computer system. I actually forgot what it's called. I used to know what it was called, but it reminded me of that a lot. So I thought it was a good movie. I thought the action was good enough. The franchise is in such an incredible spot where it's like, you know what? Just have some dumb movies where they're jumping around and there's lots of action and like weird hand-to-hand combat fights that a stage is set for them and they go, and like all this fighting, when in reality, I feel like spy agent fighting should be more the way it was in the first two Bourne movies, where it's a few movements and then you got to run away or do something else. But instead it's like it's like samurai duels at this point. You know, they meet each other and they like do a bunch of like fist fight. It's like Gun Kata and Equilibrium. You know, it just which was a movie that was way ahead of its time. But I enjoyed it. I'm actually gonna go see it again in theaters whenever I get the chance because I couldn't fully absorb it. Yeah, that's just because I'm a huge Mission Impossible fan. I didn't think it was that great. It didn't. The first Mission Impossible movie is a spy thriller with action at the end. You know, the franchise is unrecognizable from that first movie. The third one is what jump-started it by J.J. Abrams as a action franchise, which has been great. I've loved it, but a little too much action for me in the most recent one. But I enjoyed it. You liked it, right?
Do you watch films twice often, or is that just like a rare occasion?
It's a rare occasion. I rarely watch movies. I'll tell you what. I don't sit down at home and watch movies, and I haven't in years. I think Barbie will probably be the first movie I've intentionally sat down to watch this year, maybe. Mm-hmm. If there's a movie I want to see, I go to the theaters and see it. I go to the cinema.
What was the last film that you watched twice in the cinema?
I don't know. I don't think I've... It probably was just some dumb Marvel movie that I saw by myself, and then my friend wanted to see it. So probably Infinity War.
Oh, damn.
I mean, that's a W, right?
No, yeah, that's fine. I think the only film I've seen twice is probably Blade Runner 2049.
Really? There's a new one. Blade. I'm sorry, I confused that with Blade. Sorry, I still have vampires on the mind.
Speaking of Blade, I'm actually gonna watch that tonight.
Let me know what you think. You're probably in for a good one. Those are phenomenal
movies. Dude, I watched
movies.
Constantine, and that was fucking sick as well. You should watch that.
Really? Oh, you know what? Actually, you just reminded me. I watched John Wick 4 on the plane ride home. I thought it was great, and I hated John Wick 3. John Wick 3 was abject garbage. I thought the franchise was dead after that. 4 was phenomenal. I enjoyed it a lot. So, did you see it or no?
I did. I feel like the action scenes were a bit too long, but I did like how they tried to break out of the mold a bit and conclude it. Like if they didn't kill him, I'd be like, okay, that's some bullshit. But thank God they did.
Yeah, he's open to doing another one, so who knows how they'd bring him in for that. But they should. I think they were trying to spiritually I think they're like trying to
son of John Wick.
Well, they're trying to spiritually recontinue the franchise with an actress. So maybe, I think it was Ana de Armas might have been named, where there's a movie coming out where she's a ballet dancer and it's set. I don't think it's set in the John Wick universe, but it's supposed to be some sort of spiritual successor to it, which, who cares? They're dumb action movies. Who cares? Do whatever you want. It might as well be a hot girl you look at while they're doing it. Who cares? You know what I mean? She did great in that James Bond movie. She was like the only good part in that.
Dude, speaking of James Bond, man, they used to meme back in the day like, oh, they're going to make Idris Elba James Bond. At that point, I want Idris Elba as James Bond, as opposed to like whatever fucking female femoid fucking Bond they have this one.
So you're just saying all the words right now.
Like they have this like fucking Sudanese like woman is like James Bond now. It's like, can we just please go back to Idris Elba?
Do you have a name?
No, I'm just
What's his name?
Up, but I'm assuming that I'm right.
That's a good way to think. I actually like that. Yeah, how could you make it? It should be who's the guy that played Bane in Batman? James Hardy. Tom Hardy. He should be James Bond. He'd be a great James Bond. I think he's a really easy choice. But you know, we'll see. He's British, right? Yeah, he's English. They all are.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
You know those old internet advertisements like this actor died and nobody said a word. It's like do that with Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I don't know why we go.
For those of you who don't know why he's just been MIA, is because he contracted HIV.
There's no way that's true. There's no way.
I saw it on some websites.
Why don't you get on Waifu Watch with me and watch Ahsoka? There's some good waifu bait on there. This show is completely uninspired.
Why don't you watch Bocce the Rock or Oshinoko? The two animes I recommended you.
Bocce the Rock, because I don't feel like Bocce the Rock actually looks kind of cool. It's just a K-On! Knockoff or something.
It's better than K-On!
So you've watched that too?
Yep.
My dude doing the dirty work for us so he can give us the good recommends. That's great stuff. All right, we got to head out before we get ourselves in some more trouble. I hope you guys have fun listening. I had fun talking. It was just whatever was coming to mind. Spitball. I'm about to go on vacation, so whatever. I love it. Just in finishing up, I'm reading this really good book series. I just finished up the first one. It's called Nevernight. It's about this 16-year-old assassin chick. It's really good. So if you're interested, look it up. It's called Nevernight. And,
what's his name?
Yeah. Don't worry about it. All right. You got anything on the back end there, Tyson? You good to go, kid?
No, I'm good. Just remember to dunk on people when they say Oppenheimer's good. Watch Onimai. And I'll see you guys at the Pink Boys meetup at Little St. James. See you guys.
Later.